This is Roy J. Akers with you from the Cup Garage. Also, Daytona International Speedway. We have Bob Francis, GoFullThrottle.net, Dustin Long, NBCSports.com, and also Steve Schweitzer from TheLascoPress.com. These are our NASCAR insiders, folks. Don't go anywhere but here because we cover the races. We're at the races. We talk to the drivers and everybody else in NASCAR. First off, who would like to take our first topic? As I think silly season has officially arrived. It was early last year. This year it seems to be right on time. Steve.
Well, the big news out today, Daniel Suarez is out at Trackhouse Racing, and it's a tough business, win or else, and that's going to open up a seat, and I don't know, we'll see where Daniel ends up.
Yeah. Well, as we pass the baton, I think the Trackhouse has a driver waiting in the rings. Dustin, I bet you got a little ring going off there.
Yeah, obviously a tough situation for Daniel Suarez. In one sense, not a surprise. He's 29th in the points. Last year he signed a one-year contract extension for this season, so his contract was up. He was the only one at Trackhouse whose deal was up among him, Ross Chastain, Shane Van Gisbergen. They've got 18-year-old Connor Zilisch, who turns 19 in July, who has been doing fantastic things in the Xfinity Series, has made 3 Cup starts, expected to make a few more later before the end of the season. And, Zilisch has the potential to be a generational type talent. Now, it doesn't mean he's going to become that. And, maybe he becomes even better. I'm not going to say he's the next Jeff Gordon, the next Jimmy Johnson or something like that, but he certainly has, a lot of things going for him. And, he is one of the top prospects in the sport right now. So, you get him up there at 19 and run him full time next year, if that is indeed the plan, which seems likely now with this announcement on Suarez. Again, you're getting experience and you're getting building for, a few more years down the road. I mean, look, he could do great things at age 19 in the Cup Series, but if he gets that experience, what more could he do at age 21, 22, 23? And then and as long as you keep him, you have him for, potentially a 15, 20-year, 25-year career type of thing. So it's a great opportunity for Trackhouse. It was a great move for Justin Marks to get him and sign him as a development deal and then put him over to Junior Motorsports. Clearly the best organization in the Xfinity Series and give him the opportunity to run up front, run well, and take advantage of that situation.
Bob.
Yeah, I concur with Dustin on that. I think one of the exciting things is whenever you have that endorsement of Dale Jr. saying, "Hey, I really like this kid, and we're going to put him in the best equipment," that obviously carries a lot of weight. I also am involved on the business side of our sport is sponsorship. And Justin Marks having Red Bull and tying those brands together of this young hotshot who gets great exposure amongst those extreme sports that Red Bull's brand is so tied with, not only in motorsports, but around the extreme exports type stuff. That's a great combination, and you can see that momentum building right there. So there's the sort of Dale Jr., Justin Marks, Trackhouse alignment and endorsement, and then you also have on the business side, you have this sponsorship and the brand that Red Bull is tied to Connor, at least this year, and how that moves forward. Could lead to some really exciting stuff from the business side as well, which we know Justin Marks is one of the masters at.
Yeah, he is, and also I talked with Colleague Racing this weekend. Those are a couple teams that are up on the rise. At least they take themselves very serious. What I liked was the kumbaya moments that both Daniel Suarez had today and also Justin Marks. The statements that were put out by the team and the driver I thought were very well. I tried to find a quote that we could use, a video quote for a broadcast. I could not find that, so we were going to be running the quotes, the main part of them anyway, from both of them. I think they did a great job. But do all three of you think that Connor Zilisch is already signed, sealed, and delivered for next year, and we just don't know that yet? Because would you have made that move if you didn't have your driver coming in already? It seems like you would.
Yeah, I think it's a safe bet that Connor Zilich will be in Cup next year. Again, this has been more of a quieter, silly season because a lot of the some key contracts expire next year, and then there's the
Yeah.
potential to see a little bit more movement on some things there. So, the challenge for Daniel is going to be where to go because there aren't going to be as many seats with your top tier teams. So where is his best opportunity? And is it with a lower level team in Cup, or is there a way to get into if Zillage is moving into the Trackhouse car to get into that 88 Junior Motorsports car? And I'm sure that there will be a lot of drivers lining up for that. And look, we've seen some guys take a step back to take a step forward. Most notably, most recently, a guy like John Hunter Nemechek, and look at some of the things that they've been able to do this year with Legacy Motor Club, along with Eric Jones and some of the growth there. But John Hunter's been able to take advantage of that opportunity, taking that step back and coming back to Cup.
More
Yeah, I think
comments?
I'm sorry, Bob.
I was just going to say, I read Jimmy Johnson this morning just being more
Yeah.
and more adamant about Legacy Motor Club adding a third car. So a seat opening up there makes this opportunity of the who are the up and coming drivers and where are they going to land even more intriguing. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I kind of think that Daniel's going to be driving an Xfinity car next year, and it'll be a critical year for him. I mean, it's either win or else, pretty much. If he can't get back into victory lane a couple times in that series, then his career might, well be in danger.
Well, with that, I think that I love the opinions by everybody, and I think that when we come back on the flip side, I'd like to talk a little. We can talk about a couple of the drivers on the cut line, but I'd also like to bring up a little bit on Chase Elliott because I talked to him at Charlotte, and he certainly was a lot different after his win, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment.
Okay, so no, Miss Dina, nobody didn't put it on you at the
White still, so you want to leave the ones that got the yellow, but got that red blush on them.
We're getting them out as fast as we can, but
Yeah. How's the rain? But these are a freestone. So you got that deep red, and even that one's a little yellow, but it's already softened up. Yeah.
like you said, if you were commercially, so as racing is taking off, I just go by that same mentality. I just
Chase
wanna
Elliott's
get up and
victory
try to
was
make
a
my
very
race car
popular
fast.
one. In our last episode, Dustin Long really brought up about how exuberant Chase Elliott was and got Chase Elliott Nation all pumped full again, and which I'm glad to see that. The pressure on these drivers is so high. I talked to Chase Elliott in the auxiliary press room at Charlotte about a month ago, and I asked him the question. I says, "You got all the consistency, you won all the accolades, you've got all the stats are there, but you haven't won. Do you feel pressure from it?" And he kind of looked at me like, like maybe I shouldn't ask that question, but I think he's a lot different place right now. You could tell he felt the pressure, didn't he, gentlemen?
Well, there's always going to be pressure, especially when you think about, he's at Hendrick Motorsports, and since 2023, he ranks third among the four drivers in wins there, with only two, with what Kyle Larson and William Byron have done. So forget about what's going on in the rest of the series. He ranks third among his teammates, and so you always want to be first in anything as a competitor, as an athlete, as a driver, and not to be first in your own team. As to look, the consistency is great. He was probably, even if he hadn't won, he was probably in a very good position to make the playoffs without a win. But they need to step up, and they hadn't scored any stage wins. They didn't have any playoff points at this point. Get that win, get those 5 playoff points. They need to kind of continue to build on that over these last 8 races and kind of build momentum. And look, hey, we have seen Team Penske not do as well early in the season and build that momentum throughout the season. And then look what happens. Team Penske's won the last three championships between, Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney. So is this maybe not the intended version, but is this the kind of the way that the Chase Elliott season may be matching up? Yes, he's had some strong runs, but they haven't been able to finish it off. Is this now when they start finishing those off, get those playoff points, build into the playoffs, and start advancing through the rounds and go get a second championship for Chase?
More comments?
Well, I think, Dustin, you mentioned that he'd been consistent all season with the win, and the points that he gained at Echo Park. He's only 49 points behind William Byron, sitting in second for the regular season championship. So if he could put together another win, and Williams had some struggles here the last few races, I mean, he could even move up and challenge for that regular season championship, which carries the extra bonus points into every round of the playoffs. That would be certainly a huge advantage. And with his record on road courses, who knows?
Bob?
With the pressure relief for Chase Elliott, that also means, to Dustin's point about, you don't want to be third or fourth in a team of four, the pressure on Alex Bowman. We all remember last year, Jeff Gordon had to finally come out and say, Alex is safe. We're not looking to make a change. But we all know how that pressure builds during the season. And now we're going to be hearing with Chase safe in the playoffs, that pressure now mounting, as sort of that burden shifts from Chase Elliott to Alex Bowman. And how does Hendrick get that fourth car into the playoffs and locked in? So I think that's going to be part of the storyline moving forward in the Hendrick camp. And then this sort of relief valve. Okay, Chase is done. What do we do with Alex? How do we help him get in?
So with that, I think that's a great transition as we kind of finish up our last quick segment on who's in, who's out, who's in the points. Who do you think will or will not be there in late August? Anybody want to start on that?
Well, I think it's fascinating with what you look at, and you look at below the cut line, and you go beyond Ryan Preece and Eric Jones, the first two below the cut line. But you look at AJ Allmendinger's been mentioned about, could he win on a road course? If so, that moves him into a playoff spot. You look at a guy like Michael McDowell. Could he win on a road course? If so, that moves him into it. Carson Hocevar, our 20th in points. We know the speed he's got up there. Hasn't been able to put together complete races all the time. We have seen it from time to time, but if they can do it, that team can do it. Does he take a playoff bid? And again, we haven't even mentioned a guy like Kyle Busch, who has had his struggles, but they've also had some good runs. And if he can put something together, can Kyle Busch, in what is now a 75 race winless streak, and take a playoff spot. So yeah, I think it is going to be interesting to see, you've got three of the last 8 races are on road courses with Chicago and Sonoma and Watkins Glen. You've got the regular season finale at Daytona. You've got a short track in Richmond and also Iowa. So there's still a lot of unique things and some, we still might see some crazy things, and it'll just be interesting to see who climbs up, who's outside a playoff spot and steals, in essence, or takes a playoff bid, and how much that moves the cut line and who that impacts.
Bob?
I'm looking at Bubba Wallace, who it's been really consistent in the early season, had scored a number of stage points, which had him pretty safe in the 16. But as the season has worn on, especially the last few weeks, we haven't seen that performance there, and that cushion has pretty much eroded. And he's sitting, he is the bubble driver now at 16. So I'm looking for 2311 and Bubba Wallace to step it up. We know how good Tyler Reddick is on road courses. So I think, there's a lot of confidence there in the 2311 camp for Reddick. But for Bubba Wallace, boy, I think pressure is building there. 23 points above the cut line right now. Struggling the last few weeks. Some of that not of his own, an innocent bystander and a few incidents. But we all know what can happen on a street course, and with 2 road races coming up, can Bubba Wallace put something together to get off that bubble and reestablish himself in the 16?
Steve?
Yeah, I think the next races here to close out the regular season are just going to be some of the most exciting of the year. So
Yeah.
I can't wait to see the surprises that pop up, and fans need to tune in every week because you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I think NASCAR is we just got great races right up through Daytona. I know I'm going to that race in Indy for sure, credentialed or whatever. It's going to be awesome. I do think that one RFK driver is going to get in. I hope for 2. It'd be nice to see Keselowski sneak it in. It'd be nice to see a few drivers, even if they get knocked out in the first round, to make the playoffs. But I think the best shot is Chris Buescher. I think with the 3 road coursers, like Dustin said, and also Daytona, he does well on those super speedways. I mean, look at him. But Keselowski, he was so impressive in that particular race. And while it's not a true super speedway, it does have the characteristics of it. Gentlemen, I think, I don't know about you, but let's get out the popcorn because it's going to be an exciting several races. Dustin, you're going to be at all the races, right?
I've got a few. I'm taking a little bit of a break, and then I'm hitting the last 15. So a little bit of a break to kind of catch my breath, and then go hard the last 15. So it's going to be a wild ride.
Wow. Once again, we're going to tell you, Steve, where can we go ahead and read you and see your videos, read your work on NASCAR and all things going on around your community?
LaScoPress.com.
Dustin Long.
NBCsports.com/NASCAR.
There you go. And also Bob Francis.
GoFullThrottle.net.
And if you didn't write that down, he's got a logo right over his shoulder, everybody. I want to thank everybody for checking us out. I think that what we do is pretty awesome. We hope that you would like the driver interviews that we have incorporated. There are all kinds of B-roll that we put in there. It's very, very important. We love to talk to all the best in NASCAR, and we get you the very best guys, everybody. We got hard members everywhere. And I'm trying to get there myself at some point when I become a big boy. I'm just kidding. I thought I'd get a few smiles. All right, with you. Thanks again, everybody. That's it.